It was 1985. Steve Jobs was a name synonymous with Apple computers. He was its co-founder, its public face, its passionate visionary. Yet in a stunning turn of events, the board of directors decided that Apple could no longer thrive with him at the helm. The news was a shock, not just to Jobs, but to the entire tech world and the loyal Apple fan base. The reasons for his ousting were complex, rooted in his intense, often abrasive management style and a power struggle with John Sculley, the CEO Jobs himself had recruited. Jobs was known for his demanding nature, pushing employees to their limits to achieve perfection. While this often resulted in groundbreaking products, it also created friction and burnout. Being fired from Apple was a devastating blow for Steve Jobs. He described it as feeling like he had been publicly silpai haista, publicly failed. This unexpected departure set the stage for a remarkable comeback, a story of resilience and renewed vision that would eventually see him return to Apple and lead it to even greater heights than before. Steve Jobs' life began with an unconventional start. He was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His biological parents, Joanne Schiebel and Abdul Fattah John Jandali, were young unmarried graduate students at the time. They made the difficult decision to put him up for adoption, with a specific request that his adoptive parents be college graduates. The search for suitable adoptive parents led them to Paul and Clara Jobs. Paul and Clara Jobs were a working-class couple from Mountain View, California. Paul was a machinist and a Coast Guard veteran, and Clara was an accountant. Growing up, Steve knew he was adopted. His father, Paul, was a skilled craftsman who loved working with his hands, fixing cars and building things in the family garage. This early exposure to mechanics and electronics sparked a lifelong fascination with how things worked. These formative years laid the groundwork for the innovator and visionary he would later become, fostering a spirit of inquiry and a desire to build things that were both functional and beautiful. When it came time for college, Steve Jobs chose Reed College in Portland, Oregon. Reed was a private liberal arts college known for its progressive, free-spirited atmosphere and rigorous academic standards. However, Jobs' formal enrollment at Reed would be surprisingly short-lived, lasting only 6 months before he officially dropped out. Despite dropping out, Jobs didn't leave Reed immediately. Instead, he spent the next 18 months as a drop-in student, attending only the classes that truly interested him. One of those passions turned out to be a calligraphy class, which he audited out of sheer curiosity. The calligraphy class at Reed had a profound and lasting impact on Jobs. This period at Reed College highlights a key aspect of Steve Jobs' character, his belief in following his curiosity and intuition, even when the path wasn't clear. Reed was not just a place he briefly attended, it was a place where he cultivated the intellectual freedom and aesthetic sensibility that would define his work and change the world of personal computing. After his experiences at Reed College and a spiritual journey to India, Steve Jobs returned to California in the mid-1970s. He reconnected with an old friend, Steve Wozniak, a brilliant self-taught electronics engineer. Wozniak had designed a personal computer for himself, a device that would later become the Apple I. Jobs saw the immense potential in Wozniak's creation. He convinced Wozniak that they should start a company to sell the computer. They decided to call their new venture Apple Computer. The legendary beginnings of Apple took place in the garage of Jobs' parents' home in Los Altos, California. In that garage, Jobs and Wozniak, along with a few friends, hand-assembled the first Apple I computers. The Apple I was a basic machine, essentially a circuit board that users had to connect to their own keyboard and monitor. They sold their first batch of 50 Apple I computers to the Byte Shop, a local computer store. The garage phase of Apple, though short, was incredibly formative, embodying the quintessential Silicon Valley startup spirit. Section 5, Soaring High, Falling Hard, Triumph and Turmoil at Apple. The launch of the Apple II in 1977 marked a turning point for Apple Computer. Unlike the Apple I, the Apple II was a complete, ready-to-use personal computer, housed in an attractive plastic case and capable of displaying color graphics. It was an instant success, appealing not just to hobbyists, but also to businesses, schools, and families. Apple quickly grew from a garage startup into a major player in the burgeoning personal computer industry. The company went public in December 1980, making Jobs and Wozniak multimillionaires overnight. As Apple grew, so did the pressures and complexities of managing a large corporation. Jobs, still in his 20s, was known for his passionate, often volatile leadership style. He drove his teams hard, demanding perfection and innovation. The tension culminated in a dramatic power struggle in 1985. Stripped of his power and influence within the company he co-founded, a deeply wounded Steve Jobs resigned from Apple later that year. Section 6, A New Chapter, The Wilderness Years, and Pixar's Spark. After his dramatic departure from Apple in 1985, Steve Jobs found himself at a crossroads. He founded NeXT Inc., a company aimed at developing high-end computer workstations for the higher education and business markets. NeXT computers were technologically advanced, boasting powerful processors, sophisticated software, and Jobs' signature attention to design. NeXT computers, while admired for their innovation and elegance, struggled to gain significant market share. However, the software developed at NeXT, particularly the Next Step operating system, was groundbreaking. This software would later prove to be incredibly valuable, playing a crucial role in Jobs' eventual return to Apple. Simultaneously, another opportunity emerged that would lead to one of Jobs' greatest successes. In 1986, he purchased the graphics group from Lucasfilm, the computer graphics division of George Lucas's film company, for $10 million. He renamed it Pixar. In 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the world's first computer-animated feature film. This triumph with Pixar demonstrated Jobs' ability to identify and nurture talent, his willingness to take huge risks on innovative ideas, and his remarkable capacity for reinvention even after a significant setback. Section 7, The Return of the Maverick, Apple's Second Coming. By the mid-1990s, Apple, the company Steve Jobs had co-founded, was in dire straits. It had lost its innovative edge, its market share was dwindling, and it was reportedly just months away from bankruptcy. In a surprising and ironic twist of fate, Apple, desperate for a new operating system to replace its aging Mac OS, decided to acquire NeXT Inc. This deal brought not only NeXT's advanced Next Step operating system to Apple, but also, crucially, brought Steve Jobs back to the company he had started. Initially, Jobs returned to Apple as an advisor. However, his influence quickly grew as it became clear that he possessed the vision and leadership Apple desperately needed. In 1997, he was named Interim CEO, or ICEO as he preferred. He wasted no time in making drastic changes. He streamlined Apple's convoluted product line, cutting numerous projects to focus on just a few key areas. One of Jobs' first major moves was to forge a controversial but necessary partnership with Microsoft, Apple's longtime rival. Jobs' return was more than just a business transaction. It was the return of Apple's soul, setting the stage for an unprecedented era of innovation and success that would redefine the company and the entire technology industry. Section 8, Reshaping Worlds, the iPod, iPhone, and iPad era. With Apple stabilized and its core Macintosh business revitalized under his leadership, Steve Jobs set his sights on disrupting new industries. The first of these game-changing devices was the iPod, launched in October 2001. At a time when digital music players were clunky and difficult to use, the iPod offered a sleek design, an intuitive interface with its innovative click wheel, and the ability to hold 1,000 songs in your pocket. It was an instant hit. Building on the success of the iPod, Jobs unveiled the iPhone in January 2007. He famously described it as an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator all in one device. The iPhone, with its revolutionary multi-touch interface, full web browser, and sleek design, completely redefined the mobile phone industry. Then, in 2010, Jobs introduced the iPad, effectively creating the modern tablet computer market. These three products, the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad, not only transformed Apple into one of the most valuable companies in the world, but also fundamentally changed how people interacted with technology and with each other. Section 9, The Final Act, An Enduring Legacy of Innovation. Even as Steve Jobs was leading Apple through its most innovative and successful period, he was privately battling serious health issues. In 2003, he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. He eventually underwent surgery in 2004, For several years he continued to lead Apple with his characteristic intensity, unveiling new products and captivating audiences with his keynote presentations. Despite his health challenges, Jobs remained deeply involved in Apple's product strategy and vision. In August 2011, as his health declined further, Steve Jobs resigned as CEO of Apple, recommending Tim Cook as his successor. Just a few weeks later, on October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. His death prompted an outpouring of grief and tributes from around the world. Steve Jobs' legacy is immense and multifaceted. He was a visionary who saw the potential for technology to empower individuals and change the world. As he once famously said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." Steve Jobs was certainly one of them.